Today we're going to talk about a new model from Beretta, the Ultraleggero in Vittoria specification. Prior to that it was the 691 and the 693 Vittorias, which is specifically designed at ladies. This gun, which I think was launched last year sometime, the Ultraleggero, which in Italian means ultralight, so it was the replacement to the traditional ultralight, which I think we've had since certainly the late 90s to my knowledge. And what they've done is they've changed it quite a bit, which I'm just going to talk about with you now. Italy and France and countries like that, 9 times out of 10, the guns that you will actually see will be lightweight over and unders with very short barrels and quite often on a sling. So if you bought a new Beretta, if you bought a Beretta over the last 25 years, you will have noticed in the box with the field models that you will get a little set of sling swivels, one that goes on the barrels and the one that goes in the stock, and it is purely for that because throughout the world, obviously of course Beretta are a worldwide manufacturer, they supply guns for that kind of application, and a lot of people do choose to use the swivels. In the UK, from my experience, an over and under with swivels on of that quality is the kiss of death, because regardless of the fact that you might be able to remove it from the barrels and fill the hole in the stock, people just don't seem to want them. So just be warned, if you're offered a little lightweight Beretta and it's got swivels on, it may not be that easy to sell on at a later date. Right, enough of me waffling for now, let's talk about the gun. So, the Ultraleggero in its original form was simply a 680 series action, which we all know and love, which is your Silver Pigeon 3s, 5s, etc. But it was made of aluminium, or made of alloy, and because of that it was extremely lightweight. Now, lightweight guns, as we spoke about I think before with the cost video and things, are great, but ultimately you get more recoil from them because it's a lighter gun, the barrels move around more, there's more muzzle flip, and if you start to use an ultralight gun outside of its intended purpose, i.e. a bit of walked up game shooting, it becomes not ideal and not that comfortable to shoot. So 690 series action gives you a much better feeling and handling shotgun. The weight between the hands, so immediately you will get less felt recoil, and because it's better balanced, less muzzle flip. The previous model ultralight, it was very, very whippy because it was so light and because most of the weight was in the stock. And the way they've managed to get around this, it is actually, let me just take the gun apart. So it's an alloy action, but in order to reduce the weight even further, what they've done rather cleverly, just push that button back across. So alloy action, but what Beretta have very, very cleverly done is inserted into the action, where the action's milled out, you've got polymer insert. Polymer is essentially plastic. Plastic doesn't weigh anything. So the overall weight of this shotgun in 30-inch barrels is £6 6 ounces, which is very light. Because this 690 is a different design to the 680 in terms of the balance and the handling, it is a light gun and it does still kick, but in terms of what the traditional ultralight used to be like, it is a much, much better gun. So one of the reasons that I've never been a fan of the original ultralight is because it kicked like a donkey, and that's because it had nominal bores. So by nominal bores we mean 18.4, very tight, and with a tight bore you get more recoil. Fast forward to 2021, I think it came out, and what we've got here is we've got 18.6 Optima HB bores. And just by making the barrel diameter, the bore diameter that bit wider, again, bigger surface area, and it reduces the recoil even further. To such a point that, whereas the initial ultralight was only available ever in 26 and 28 inch, because again, it's a gun that's designed for walked up game shooting, primarily in the mountains of Europe, let's not forget that. And this is now available in 30 inch, which makes it much more pointable and much more and a better choice for modern day game shooting and for even clay applications. So it's the Beretta Ultraleggero Vittoria, built on the 690 action. This one's 30 inch, £6 6 ounces in total, which is ridiculously light. How Beretta have managed to get the weight down. It's a game specification, so it's got a 6mm narrow rib, which again makes a massive difference to the weight of a gun. You take 4mm of metal, a 10mm versus a 6mm rib, and have 30 inches of it, and it can knock 2, 3, 4 ounces off sometimes. As well as that, you will notice that the barrels are floating. So floating barrels, again, reduces the weight. This one's 3-inch chambers. Don't know why you would want 3-inch chambers on a gun this light. Ultimately, this is going to be at home shooting clays with 21 gram cartridges, 24 gram, and if you did want to shoot a bit of game, I would recommend nothing more than 28 really, because I think anything other than that, it would make it quite an uncomfortable experience. The more eagle-eyed of our viewers will have noticed these little bubbles in and around on the barrels. Just to let you know, that's protective tape, which is something the Beretta are now doing, which is really, really good idea, because I can count a number of occasions in the past where someone's caught a barrel in the shop and maybe just damaged it slightly, damaged the bluing. So it's not an imperfection in the barrels, it is literally just tape. And we obviously will remove this at the point of sale. So let's talk a little bit about the actual stock. So the bottom one is the Ultraleggero Vittoria, and the top one is a latest spec Silver Pigeon 3, and you can see the difference between the two stocks. So the Ultraleggero Vittoria is much narrower, much smaller in the pistol grip. Now this is because primarily ladies have got smaller hands than guys. They have shorter fingers as well, so they sometimes find it harder to reach the trigger with a conventional, I'm going to say, bloke stock. So that is a huge plus, because up until 4 or 5 years ago, when ladies specific guns sort of came on the market, you couldn't get anything like that. And also, if you take a standard stock, it's very difficult to produce that, because you'd have to have more wood to start with, so it's impossible. Without having a stock made, you've never had the option to do something like this. Monte Carlo, so what that allows is, first and foremost, because you haven't got a conventional degree of drop, it means that for new shooters, whether you mount the gun there or whether you mount the gun there, the sight picture is almost the same, because there's very, very little, if at all, any drop, if any drop at all. Get my words out, Matthew. So really, really good. But most importantly, the actual Monte Carlo at the back, which is this little dip here, is better for ladies who've got long necks, high cheekbones, because it allows them to shoot with a more head-up position without having to crouch their neck right down, and also without having to put the pad out of the pocket of the shoulder. Coupled with that, we've got reduced pitch. The physical differences of men and women, they need a different degree of pitch to make it more comfortable when they're mounting the gun. And with it being a lady stock, the pitch is reduced, so there's much better contact with the recoil pad in the shoulder pocket. Just to put them back down next to each other, you will also see that the Vittoria stock is actually shorter. So standard Beretta 14 5/8 lengths of pull, Vittoria just under 14 inches. Now this is, for me, is the ideal sort of stock length for a lady. Yes, we do have ladies that come in the shop that are 6 foot plus. Typically when we ultra a stock for a lady, it's somewhere between 13.5 and 14 inches. So 13 3/4 is absolutely perfect. With the Ultraleggero Vittoria, which remember is on a 690 action, not a 680 action, it's a tiny bit higher in the comb than its Silver Pigeon 1 and Silver Pigeon 3 sisters. And although that might not sound like a big deal, from a gun fit point of view, it is. So on the Ultraleggero Vittoria, we have got 35mm drop at comb, 45mm drop at heel, and then 55mm drop at the Monte Carlo. So it's a 10mm drop just here. But the Silver Pigeon 1 is 37.5, 47.5, 57.5. So that might not sound like a massive amount, but 2.5mm difference when you're looking at the critical factors of gun fit can be huge. A couple more things I want to talk about. So we talked about what makes it lightweight. We've talked about what makes it suitable for ladies, and not forgetting smaller frame guys. We do have shorter guys, smaller hands, shorter arms. It does happen. We have sold a few of these to, a few Vittoria models full stop to guys like that. The other difference with this model, and this is all on all Ultraleggeros, is they've changed the fore-end design slightly, but also the fore-end catch. Now this has got the fore-end catch off the 694, which I think a video is only a couple of weeks away, and it's a much more positive forend catch. It's not like the self-adjusting one they used to put on the 690, 692 models, which could be, I'm not saying it was, but it could be problematic. And like I said, it comes out about probably nearly a pound lighter than the steel action version, which is essentially its bigger cousin. But great bit of kit. You know, I think Beretta, in terms of a lightweight over and under shotgun, have taken it as far as they can in terms of reducing the weight and, you know, trying to keep the felt recoil down. Really impressive. Like the gun, and I think it's going to do really well. Just one final point, which I keep forgetting to mention, is I don't know why they've done this, but we talked about the polymer inserts. I believe you can go on the Beretta website and actually have custom made ones with pictures of your dog or your gran or whatever takes your fancy, but you can sort of customize it, which again just makes it, you know, it just shows that Beretta are constantly moving forward, always thinking, because let's not forget, with shotguns it is very much like trying to reinvent the wheel, because they are quite a basic thing in principle. That's your lot. Thanks for looking. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe. Any questions, drop us a line, comment below, whatever you need to do. And we'll look forward to seeing you next time. See you later.